get the street's take. Bernstein analyst Stacy Rasgon joins us. He's got a buy rating, 185 price target on the stock. Were you, in some way, Stacy, at all disappointed in terms of the announcements we got out of Taiwan from Jensen?
No, I thought they were pretty positive. I mean, like Jensanity, I guess, is a very funny. I think that's a good a view of how he's perceived over there. I thought the announcements were good. I think to Christina's point, the NVLink Fusion announcement was, to me, the most surprising. They are opening up the ecosystem to other partners, which I think is good. I thought, to her point, also like the missing folks were also very interesting. Intel and AMD and Broadcom. They have a competing interconnect. There's an open standard called UA-Link that they've been trying to develop. You've got like the second tier ASIC players that are part of Nvidia's thing. I mean, maybe trying to like boost them versus some of the leaders like Broadcom. I thought overall, look, he said that the GB200, like the current products are in full production. GB300 is well on its way. That's coming very soon. Bunch of other product announcements. Everything. I thought it was good. And again, the stock is. It's one day, but the stock is outperforming in a down tape today. Like, I thought it was good.
Yeah, and as Christina just said, obviously, very strong week last week. The diffusion rules are gone. Is that the last overhang, though, in terms of at least what's going to replace them and whether it still will put up some barriers to their ability to sell?
Yeah, so the diffusion rules are gone, so that does remove a near-term headwind, because remember, they report on the 28th. If the rules went in place like on the 15th as they were supposed to, they would have had to guide with them in place, and that may have caused some issues. It does look like, there was some talk about Trump replacing them with like individually negotiated bilateral agreements, and that does seem to be maybe where we're going, especially with all the announcements out of the Middle East last week. That could be good or bad. I think at least in the near term, as long as you don't have to sign them, to enable Nvidia to sell, like, I think it's okay. But ultimately, it may take time, to negotiate 120 like distinct, bilateral agreements. Personally, I also don't like the idea of tying this stuff to the trade deals, which seems to be where they're going. But there was at least the deals that they signed with Saudi Arabia and the UAE last week were actually quite positive. They were very big. And if we start to see similar deals, elsewhere, I think this can be good. At a minimum, it doesn't look like you're going to be constrained in the near term in terms of what they can sell to the majority of the world. And I think that's a good thing. That was a big worry when we were concerned that the diffusion rules actually would get put into place.
Yeah. I mean, given the free cash flow generation, just the size of this company and its ability to sort of outpace its rivals in terms of financials, what are your expectations for moving into new areas that perhaps, and or new products beyond, obviously, the core?
Yeah, I mean, look, so NVIDIA's and Jensen in particular have been very good at thinking not just like one quarter ahead. I mean, he's thinking 10 years out, right? And it's very clear that all the success that they're having today is the result of some of the decisions that they've made over the last 5 years, 10 years, even longer. And I don't see any reason for that to change, right? We've seen him build all of the different and build up all the different pieces that he needs to sell these AI factories, these AI data centers. He's moving into other end markets. I think he mentioned PCs a little early. We didn't see another specific AI PC announced, but we did see, they've got this, I can't even remember, it's the DGX Spark, or the little workstation that they're selling. So it's sort of a PC form factor. They're moving into there. They're pushing much harder into networking. And now with this Fusion announcement, they're extending the ecosystem out above and beyond what they're just doing on their own. He's not constrained by short-term decisions. Like, this is a company that has both the leadership as well as the resources to continue pushing the envelope and kind of moving the goalpost and making it very difficult for competitors to catch them. I don't see that.
I do think it's interesting, Stacey, speaking of competitors, though, with the announcement about the NVLink Fusion, of course, that other companies could sort of link into this infrastructure. I mean, what are the opportunities that Jensen has just opened for potentially competitors here, too?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Look, I figure if like, for example, if hyperscalers are going to do ASICs, they're going to do ASICs anyways. Like, you might as well have some of that rather than none. And I think to the extent that you can be extending pieces of your ecosystem into that space, I think that's good. Again, if you go back to what I said earlier, like, if you look at the ASIC partners that have announced, it was players like Marvell and MediaTek. So it's more the second tier guys that are looking to take share. So if he's enabling them to take share and getting a piece of that, I think that's fine. I think it's also interesting, you talked about Qualcomm. So Qualcomm made the announcement with Saudi Arabia last week that they're going to be building AI data centers with them, and they're going to have CPUs. And as of last week, it was a little unclear how their CPUs were going to fit into the broader AI ecosystems they're building up. And now it's a little clearer, right? You can kind of see how they'll fit in with the Nvidia GPUs that those guys will presumably be building for those data centers as well. So to the extent that Qualcomm was not playing, that there are the opportunities now for other CPU vendors like them to start to benefit from these build-outs as well.
Stacy, thank you as always.
Yeah, you bet. Anytime.